Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever this catches you. I wanted to make a point, and I didn't want to have to type it all out because laziness. Your friends who are anti-gun, and everyone has one, or three, or if they're blessed, many, are quick to point out that in countries where there are assault weapon bans or weapon bans in general, there are less mass shootings. They never say there's less violent crime, there's less murders, there's less rape or robbery or anything like that. They're very careful to use the words mass shootings because they're able to make their point, a gun ban is effective, but it's not effective. But what they want is they don't want less murder. They don't want less violent crime. They want control over you and your property. And they're naively thinking that once they gain control over you and your property for their friends in the government, that only extends to us gun owners. Well, in these same places where there's less mass shootings, there's just as much violent crime as there ever has been, arguably more because people can't defend themselves. And they don't have anything like our freedom of speech here in America. They don't have anything like our right to personal property and belongings and to protecting our way of life. They don't have any way of arguing against tyranny. The Second Amendment is special because it allows us to have a final safeguard if all the other safeguards fall out of place to protect ourselves against encroaching government. And our government attempts to encroach every single day. Look at this $1.3 trillion disaster spending bill. Do you think they could have done that if they were actually afraid of anything that we would do, short of shooting them? And now they're trying to remove that component from our ability. And that may sound paranoid or some conspiracy theory or tyranny, but it's happened over and over and over again in history. And if you don't look at history and then you come and argue with one of us who has, you're just being dumb. So again, the only thing an assault weapon ban or any weapon ban or any infringement on our rights would do is possibly curtail mass shootings. It's not going to stop mass knife attacks, bomb attacks, ball bats, fists and feet. It's not going to stop any of that. It's not going to stop anything at all. It's just a feel-good measure to make it look like your Democrat friends in politics are doing their job by protecting you and keeping you safe from yourselves. It's a bunch of people who don't trust themselves with tools, trying to tell others that since I can't trust myself and my family to be smart enough to handle a tool, then I don't trust you and your family to be smart enough to handle a tool. That's the bottom line. It's a hater mentality. I don't want this. I can't have this. I can't trust myself with this. So I'm not going to trust you with this, and I want the government to take it away from you because they're my friend. That's exactly what it is. Banning or regulating or infringing further on our rights, which have already been way over-regulated to begin with, for a not to be infringed upon right. Imagine if they popped into your house and told you could only have one typewriter. You can have a BlackBerry for Saturday use only. Your Twitter account is monitored and you can only use it 1 hour a day. Imagine if, since people have killed themselves over speech, they said, well, you can't have Facebook anymore. What you can have is the People's Book, where everyone logs on and they can only put one comment out a day and you can only argue with one point once a day. And it is filled with government propaganda and advertising from the government of what they want you to do. Imagine if they restricted your First Amendment rights to you have to have a 7-day waiting period before you do a tweet. Because you might send an angry tweet and it might hurt someone's feelings and they might kill themselves. Think it through. What benefit does it do to me besides making me feel like I'm powerful and can get one over on my friends who like guns? What benefit does it do to you to take away your neighbor's AR-15? Have you ever seen your neighbor's AR-15? Do you even know where he keeps his AR-15? Has it ever violated you or walked across the yard and pointed itself at you? Has it ever endangered your kid in any way? No, it protects him and his family. It allows him and his family to go out and shoot things and have fun. It allows them to look at it and say, oh man, that's a nicely crafted piece of machinery. It does nothing to you whatsoever, and it never will, except maybe defend you if the time arises that it needs to do that. And that it will only do if he chooses to use it in that regard, which he probably will, because most gun owners are nice people who value their communities, value their neighbors, and value their families. which is why they use guns and keep guns. One of the reasons. Or for sporting, for like Olympic shooting events and things of that nature. All sorts of things get taken away when you take away our Second Amendment rights. And absolutely nothing of value is added. Nothing of value. You're still going to get stabbed, knifed, bombed, beaten, whatever, if someone wants to do so. There are people with hate in their hearts. People took box cutters, legal to purchase, hell, they give them away at Menards, onto airplanes and flew airplanes into buildings, murdering thousands of people. And you're telling me that your neighbor Jeff, who works 40 hours a week and has a wonderful family, shouldn't be allowed to have an AR-15, and that's somehow going to save us from another 9/11 or from another Columbine, which, by the way, in Columbine, they used more explosives than guns. Timothy McVeigh didn't use guns. Guns are not the problem. Our hearts are the problem. Our communities are the problem. The way we value each other's lives and each other as people are problems. People used to take guns to school every single day. They'd keep them in their locker or in their vehicle. They'd go out shooting after school. They got into fist fights if they got into fights. There was a different value set. Or it was at least not as big in the negative values. There are always going to be jerks. And there's always going to be murder. And there will always be murder even if we have zero guns. Even if we're like England, where there's no free speech and there's police boxes on every corner and they can walk into your house anytime they want to. And you want to know why they can do all that? Because their people don't have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment disappears and gets further regulated to the point where it's useless. All other rights disappear. The right for me to make this video disappears. The right for me to put this video out disappears. You would never see this video in England or Canada or Australia, which is, by the way, controlled by the United Kingdom, by England. And if you did see this video, you might see it for a while and it gets taken down. If it's effective, it'd be taken down. I might get thrown in jail. There's a guy about to be thrown in jail in Australia for saying something. And it happens all the time in the United Kingdom. Hate speech has been broadly defined in such a capacity that pretty much anything can fall under it if it's out of favor with the leadership. They don't have a way of stopping that. Voting doesn't stop it. Striking doesn't stop it. Picketing doesn't stop it. None of that stops it. Once it gets so big, there is absolutely no choice but to overthrow a government. They need to do that in a lot of places. Their leadership is suicidal. It's allowing Muslim refugees in that are raping and murdering people. They're encroaching on their personal private belongings and self with checkpoints and police boxes and unwarranted searches. And you don't think we're heading there here? What do you think is different about the human nature of our politicians and our government leaders from the other politicians and government leaders? What do you think is different from Trump and the administration that you either love or loathe than Kim Jong-un and his administration that some people there love or loathe? Do you think there's really a difference in the hearts of men? Do you think none of us don't have the same capacity as Kim Jong-un does? I'm not saying don't trust your neighbors, don't trust your government, but I am saying trust them with the ability to defend yourself if they become untrustworthy. I'm not some paranoid nut thinking, hey, let's do a revolution, let's take up arms, let's go kill some government people. No, but I am saying if our government gets out of control, that is exactly what we are expected and duty-bound to consider and to have the tools to be able to consider. Don't take away our tools just because you can't trust yourself with tools. If you can't trust yourself with tools, don't go buy a tool. Don't put it in your house. Leave us alone. The only reason we're arguing with you people is because you're the ones wanting to take stuff away from us. We're not trying to take anything away from you except for add to your value of life. Add to your neighbor's ability to defend your house if he happens to see someone breaking into your house. 911 ain't going to get there in some cases. And if it does, they'll get there to write a report over your body. Put that in your mind. This protects you even if you choose not to own a weapon. Your neighbor's ability to own a weapon, the guy that you go to school with or work with's ability to own a weapon protects you just as much as it protects them, because they're not the ones shooting the school up. They're not the ones who are going to run around trying to rob you or break into your house. NRA members are not robbing liquor stores at 2 in the morning and shooting the cashier in the head. Not happening. NRA members are just as disgusted about this crap as you are. So again, stop trying to take people's rights. Stop trying to regulate people's rights. Start looking for the root of the problem, which is not a tool. The reason I have a loose screw in a board is not because the screwdriver isn't doing its job. It's because I'm not doing my job by using the screwdriver. Period. We ban screwdrivers, you're still going to have loose screws or too tight of screws. I know that's a stupid metaphor, but it's a metaphor, and it's just as smart of a metaphor as any of the arguments against guns that I've ever seen. So, if you don't like it, well, there you have it. I think I can hop off the soapbox now, but please, 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 before you say, you don't need an AR-15 or nobody needs an AR-15, please just think about what you're saying. Nobody needs a Corvette. You can't drive 120 in a school zone, so why should you have a car that can go 120? See how stupid that argument is? Same stupidity on the AR-15 argument. An AR-15 is a tool. Nothing more. It's not an assault anything. It's a tool. Adios.